The mainstream media's portrayal of global warming has been a topic of discussion in recent years, with some arguing that it is being used as a tool to oppress Christians. While this claim may seem far-fetched, it is essential to examine the media's narrative and its potential implications on Christian communities. The media's coverage of global warming often focuses on a scientific consensus, emphasizing the urgent need for action to mitigate its effects. However, some critics argue that this narrative is being used to promote a secular, liberal agenda that undermines Christian values. For instance, the emphasis on individual carbon footprints and the need for sustainable living can be seen as an attack on traditional Christian lifestyles, which often prioritize family and community over environmental concerns. Moreover, the media's portrayal of climate change as a moral issue can be seen as an attempt to supplant traditional Christian morality with a new, secular worldview. The notion that climate change is a sin that must be atoned for through sacrifices and lifestyle changes can be viewed as a form of eco-spirituality that competes with traditional Christian teachings. This narrative can be particularly problematic for Christians who believe that their faith provides a unique perspective on environmental stewardship, one that emphasizes the importance of caring for God's creation while also prioritizing human needs and dignity. The media's tendency to villainize Christians who express skepticism about climate change or its causes can also be seen as a form of oppression. Christians who question the scientific consensus or advocate for a more nuanced approach to environmental policy are often labeled as deniers or anti-science, which can be damaging to their reputation and credibility. This kind of rhetoric can create a culture of fear and intimidation, where Christians feel hesitant to express their opinions or engage in public debate about climate change. Furthermore, the media's obsession with climate change can be seen as a way to distract from other issues that are of concern to Christians, such as religious freedom, abortion, and traditional family values. By dominating the news cycle with stories about climate change, the media can create a sense of urgency and crisis that crowds out other important issues. This can be particularly problematic for Christians who believe that their faith requires them to engage with a broad range of social and moral issues, not just environmental concerns. In addition, the media's promotion of climate change as a global, collective problem can be seen as an attempt to erode national sovereignty and traditional forms of community. The emphasis on global cooperation and international agreements to address climate change can be viewed as a threat to Christian notions of patriotism and local identity. This can be particularly concerning for Christians who believe that their faith requires them to prioritize the needs and interests of their local community, rather than submitting to global, secular authority. It is also worth noting that some Christians are actively engaging with the issue of climate change and are working to promote a distinctly Christian perspective on environmental stewardship. These efforts often emphasize the importance of caring for God's creation, while also prioritizing human needs and dignity. However, these voices are often marginalized or ignored by the mainstream media, which prefers to focus on the more sensational and controversial aspects of the climate change debate. In conclusion, while the claim that the mainstream media uses global warming to oppress Christians may seem exaggerated, it is essential to consider the ways in which the media's narrative can be problematic for Christian communities. The emphasis on individual carbon footprints, the portrayal of climate change as a moral issue, and the villainization of Christians who express skepticism about climate change can all contribute to a culture of oppression and intimidation. By examining these issues and promoting a more nuanced and balanced discussion of climate change, we can work to create a more inclusive and respectful public debate that values the perspectives and contributions of all individuals, regardless of their faith or worldview.